Hello everyone, I'm your old friend, Xiaogu Science Representative. In recent years, news about Chinese tourists behaving in an uncivilized manner in public places has repeatedly made the trending headlines. Especially on airplanes, scenes of conflict have become increasingly common. Some people speak loudly, some argue endlessly, and others make all sorts of unreasonable demands of the flight attendants. These incidents are not isolated cases, but rather the result of long-term accumulation. Looking back over the past 20 or more years, traditional culture has been severely damaged, leading to a continuous decline in the overall moral standards of society. What we see today, the various forms of chaos and disorder, is precisely the outcome of that prolonged erosion. What's even more ironic is that those who can afford to travel by plane are, for the most part, not from the lowest social strata. Yet, their behavior in public repeatedly shatters the public's expectations and understanding. So, what exactly are some of the most notorious scenes that have taken place on airplanes? A certain video has been widely circulated online. In the footage, a passenger kept yelling at the person sitting next to him, "Go ahead, try crossing your leg over here again, just try it." His tone was furious and exaggerated. On the other side, the neighboring passenger stubbornly argued back, saying, "Whether my feet stink or not is none of your business. These socks and shoes are brand new." The scene quickly descended into chaos, and at one point, they even started pushing and shoving each other. The argument grew louder and more heated, leaving the entire cabin in turmoil. The first passenger could do nothing but fume helplessly until the flight attendants intervened to mediate the situation. In the end, one of the passengers was relocated to another seat, finally restoring some order. After nearly half an hour of back-and-forth conflict, the atmosphere on the plane was completely disrupted. Unfortunately, incidents like this are not uncommon. Recently, a Chinese female passenger caused a similar uproar on a Thai Lion Air flight. Because the flight was delayed, she lost control of her emotions and demanded to get off the plane immediately. She even tried to rally other Chinese passengers, declaring, "Chinese people are not to be bullied." When the airline crew patiently explained the situation and repeatedly apologized, she refused to cooperate unless they spoke in Chinese. She shouted, "Speak Chinese, don't speak Thai. If we can't understand you, then let us off the plane." The cabin became noisy and chaotic, drawing the attention and ridicule of nearby passengers. After the video was exposed, many netizens criticized such behavior as a sign of an infantile mentality. Some bluntly commented that certain people always think the whole world should revolve around them, yet they end up embarrassing all Chinese people. Thai media also reported on the incident, clarifying that the flight delay that day was caused by air traffic control and weather conditions at Bangkok's Don Mueang Airport, not by the airline itself. Industry insiders further reminded that delays on international flights are quite common, and passengers should respond rationally instead of using emotional outbursts or threats, or even demanding to switch flights. On July 28th, on a Sichuan Airlines flight, a passenger who claimed to be a Platinum Card member suddenly walked straight into the crew's working area and made an absurd request he wanted to personally arrange the in-flight meals himself. The flight attendants politely declined at first, explaining that this involved food safety procedures and that passengers were not allowed to interfere. However, the passenger became increasingly emotional and even questioned, "If you can arrange the meals, why can't I?" His tone grew more aggressive, and he even demanded that the female chief flight attendant personally come to arrange the meals. Faced with such unreasonable demands, the chief attendant tried to patiently communicate, explaining that the task was assigned to the crew in the rear cabin and that she couldn't simply overstep their division of work. But the man continued to press on relentlessly, insisting that the person be changed. With no other choice, the chief attendant finally agreed to do it herself in order to quickly calm the situation. Later, netizens discovered that this so-called Song Platinum was already a well-known figure in the civil aviation community. For years, he had repeatedly interfered with flight operations, filing complaints over trivial matters. Not only that, he was also known for habitually asking flight attendants for their WeChat contacts. If they refused, he would use threats of complaints to pressure them. And if he succeeded in getting their WeChat, things only got worse. He would bombard them with messages daily, constantly harassing them. There was even a flight attendant who, after being persistently harassed by him for a long period, suffered severe psychological stress and eventually chose to resign. Stories like this make people sigh in frustration. It's already difficult to be successful in one's job, but being a flight attendant is even harder. Before we dive into all of this, let us know in the comments where you're watching this video from. Connecting with viewers across the world is a huge source of inspiration for us. Recently, a flight attendant who is also a blogger exposed another incident in her video, this time involving a Mr. Wang, another Platinum Card passenger who could truly be described as the strangest of the strange. She said that Mr. Wang's behavior was nothing like that of an ordinary passenger. It was more like someone choosing concubines in an imperial harem. Here's what happened. He appeared in the service area, looking calm and polite, pretending to make small talk. The chief flight attendant treated him with respect and addressed him as Mr. Wang, but he interrupted her in front of everyone, saying, "What do you mean, Mr. Wang? You're so unprofessional, you should call me Brother Wang." Quote. His arrogance made the whole cabin fall into awkward silence. And what followed was even more outrageous. He casually asked, "What fruits do you have on board? Oranges? Let me have a taste." After tasting one, he said it wasn't enough and demanded to take some with him. Taking fruit to go was bad enough, but he then demanded to pack all the soda water on the plane as well. Even more absurdly, he refused to let his luggage be placed in the regular overhead bins, insisting that it be stored in the crew's private storage cabinet. He ordered, "Just put it in your cabinet together with your bags." Before leaving, he even threw out another command. "Later, all of you write down your phone numbers for me." Such a blatant request left the flight attendants in an impossible position. The blogger sighed, saying, "When you're a flight attendant and encounter a lifetime platinum card holder like this, would you dare to refuse him? If you really say no, the complaint might already be filed with the company before the plane even lands. But if you give him your number within less than half an hour after landing, you'll immediately receive a text. 'I'm Brother Wang from the plane. Add me on WeChat.'" Quote. She added frankly that people like him usually have no real charm in their everyday lives, but once they hold a bit of privilege in their hands, they use it to control others. What's worse is that once such a person files a complaint, regardless of whether the flight attendant was right or wrong, they must first write a report and undergo an investigation. In the lightest cases, it affects their professional record. In more serious cases, it can halt their promotion or even lead to suspension from flying. In other words, their platinum card has become a sword of authority hanging over the flight attendants' heads. In fact, within the airline industry, difficult-to-serve VIP passengers have almost become an urban legend. The platinum card was originally created as a reward system by airlines to make travel more convenient for frequent flyers. But in the hands of certain individuals, it has turned into a weapon of arrogance and abuse of power. On the evening of August 7th, an incident broke out aboard a China Southern Airlines flight traveling from Shenzhen to Dalian. The conflict erupted between passengers, and the surprising cause was a child kicking the seat in front of him. According to eyewitnesses, the young boy kept kicking the back of the seat in front of him throughout the flight. The woman sitting in that seat tried to stay calm at first. She turned around several times and politely asked the parents to discipline their child. However, the parents completely ignored her requests. After repeated failed attempts to communicate, the frustrated woman scolded the boy, and only then did he quiet down, but not for long. When the plane began its descent, the boy deliberately rammed into the woman's seat again, causing her earphones to fall off and disappear under the seats. As soon as the aircraft landed, the situation escalated rapidly. The boy's parents, along with 2 other relatives, immediately surrounded the woman and physically attacked her. Inside the narrow airplane cabin, chaos broke out. The woman sat in the aisle shouting, "Call the police! Call the police immediately!" However, the boy's mother still tried to justify herself, yelling, "He's just a child! You're going too far!" The flight attendants and nearby passengers rushed to intervene, but the situation remained out of control. Finally, the crew had to contact airport security, who escorted all involved parties to the police station for investigation. According to the police report, the actions of the 4 relatives had already violated the Public Security Administration punishment law, and they now faced detention and fines. The assaulted female passenger, however, refused mediation, insisting on defending her rights through legal means. She firmly declared, "I'm not being petty, they went too far. A child cannot be used as a shield for bad behavior. If parents don't discipline their kids, then society must. If this isn't dealt with today, tomorrow they'll keep using the excuse of he's just a child to bully others." Many netizens expressed strong agreement after watching the video, saying such people must be punished by law to set an example. Others pointed out that if this kind of behavior is tolerated, these children spoiled by their parents will likely grow up with no sense of boundaries and may one day end up on the path of crime. In fact, this was far from an isolated incident. Similar outrageous passenger behavior has occurred frequently on domestic flights in China. For instance, on May 9th, 2021, a bizarre seat-occupying scandal took place at Beijing Capital International Airport. A female passenger, who had clearly only purchased an economy-class ticket, forcibly entered business class and refused to leave. The rightful ticket holder was left standing with nowhere to sit, creating an extremely embarrassing scene. The video footage showed the woman lying comfortably in the spacious business class seat, covered with a blanket, appearing completely unbothered. 2 police officers arrived and tried to persuade her to leave, but she pulled the blanket over her head and refused to cooperate. The officers patiently explained, "You are already breaking the law. The plane cannot depart. You need to get off voluntarily." Yet the woman continued to stall, wasting time and refusing to move. According to regulations, an economy-class passenger who wishes to upgrade must pay the fare difference, and only if seats are available in business class. But this woman blatantly ignored the rules, relying on sheer shamelessness to occupy the seat by force. What shocked people even more was that she claimed to be a law school graduate from Peking University. The statement caused a storm of outrage online, with netizens asking how Peking University could possibly produce someone so lacking in common sense and basic decency. However, many also believed she was simply lying. One commenter mocked, "Forget Peking University, she probably didn't even finish elementary school." Others added, "People like her just want to take advantage of others. They think being shameless means they can enjoy more privileges." In reality, such brazen freeloading passengers are not rare. One netizen even shared his own experience from over 10 years ago. After boarding a plane, he found his seat already occupied by a young woman. He politely said, "Excuse me, this is my seat. Would you mind moving?" To his surprise, the woman coldly replied, "I'm not moving. What can you do about it?" That single sentence, he said, has stuck with him ever since. Many people lamented that in today's social environment, those who act politely and reasonably often suffer the most, while those who are thick-skinned and unreasonable tend to get their way. One netizen put it bluntly, "In today's China, if you're too considerate, you'll be bullied. But if you're shameless, you'll get what you want." It's a harsh truth, but it hits home. Platinum cards have become a badge of arrogance. Children are used as shields for bad behavior, and passengers blatantly trample over the rules. These repeated incidents are not just individual embarrassments, they expose the deeper moral decay of society. If the rules exist only in name, and unreasonable troublemakers are allowed to get away with it, then it's always the law-abiding majority who suffer. To restore peace to the skies, those who violate regulations must face real consequences only when making trouble becomes the most costly choice. Will civility truly return to air travel? This shocking scene left everyone stunned. Chinese passengers fighting each other in midair, tens of thousands of meters above the ground. Since China and Malaysia fully implemented their mutual visa-free agreement, a large number of Chinese tourists have flocked to Malaysia. However, on a flight returning from Malaysia to China, an unexpected and disturbing scene occurred. At around 6 p.m., on July 21st of this year, aboard Air Asia Flight 7326 traveling from Kuala Lumpur to Chengdu Tianfu International Airport, the cabin lights were dim when suddenly loud shouting and chaos erupted. Several passengers began arguing between seats, emotions ran high, and within moments, the quarrel escalated into pushing, shoving, and a full-blown physical fight. The scene quickly descended into chaos. According to viral videos online, the 2 parties involved were a man and a woman speaking Sichuan dialect, and the altercation happened roughly half an hour before the plane landed. A passenger who was on the same flight recalled that the dispute apparently started because one side complained the other was speaking too loudly, and after a few heated exchanges, both sides lost their temper and began to fight. He said, "It was my first time witnessing a fight on an airplane. Watching them go from arguing to hitting each other was terrifying." After the plane landed, the passengers involved were immediately taken away by the police. On July 22nd, the Sichuan Provincial Public Security Department confirmed the incident. Chinese tourists abroad had gotten into a verbal argument over cutting in line, which ultimately escalated into a physical altercation. This kind of conflict is not an isolated event. On June 8th, another dispute broke out at a convenience store inside Amara Mall, located in Selangor, Malaysia. A young Chinese couple attempted to cut in line while checking out, provoking anger from a local middle-aged Chinese-Malaysian man wearing a red shirt. The confrontation began inside the store and quickly spilled outside. Video footage shows the couple arguing in both Chinese and English with the store clerk and other customers. The man in the red shirt repeatedly advised them to wait their turn, and another female customer also tried to calm them down. However, the couple remained defiant and refused to listen, even shouting back aggressively at the older man. At one point, the Chinese man took out his phone, threatening to record the local man, who angrily demanded, "What right do you have to film me?" The confrontation escalated further as tempers flared. The Chinese man taunted him, even declaring that he wanted to fight. The man in red retorted, "You're making Chinese people lose face," a statement that completely ignited the Chinese man's rage. The Chinese man shouted back emotionally, "What's wrong with being Chinese?" and immediately threw a punch. Outside the store, the argument turned into a violent scuffle. The taller Chinese man overpowered the middle-aged local man, pinning him to the ground and choking him with his arm. The scene was chaotic, drawing the attention of nearby onlookers. On June 11th, local police issued a formal statement confirming that 3 people had been summoned for questioning, and an investigation was launched under Section 323 of the Penal Code for assault and causing bodily harm. If you're still watching, comment one so I know you're still with me. According to official data from Malaysia, in 2024, China became the 3rd largest source of international overnight visitors to Malaysia. The number of tourists reached 3,287,000, an increase of 1,810,000 compared to 2023, making China the only country to achieve growth of over 1 million visitors. In July of this year, data released by Malaysia's Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture showed that during the first 5 months of the year, China had already become Malaysia's largest non-ASEAN tourist market, with approximately 1,810,000 visitors, marking a 38.8% increase year-on-year, the highest growth rate among all markets. The Tourism Authority further predicted that Chinese visitor arrivals could reach 5 million by the end of this year. However, alongside this boom, some Chinese online influencers seized the opportunity to create content for social media, often using exaggerated or even negative remarks to attract attention and drive traffic. One influencer advised Chinese travelers to bring instant noodles, preferably vegetarian ones, when visiting Malaysia, claiming that the restaurants here are mediocre and only suitable for people who want to lose weight. Another influencer filmed the streets of Kuala Lumpur, sarcastically asking, "Is this rundown place really the capital of Malaysia?" mocking the city for lacking the atmosphere of a modern international metropolis. They also complained about poor public transportation, saying they had waited over half an hour in the city center without seeing a single bus. In response, some Malaysian Chinese vloggers criticized these tourists, saying, "These people have no global perspective. Their harsh words are only meant to chase views." One of them added, "I've tolerated this for a long time. People with this kind of attitude are not welcome in Malaysia." Another Malaysian Chinese female influencer even angrily shouted online, "Chinese people, get out of Malaysia!" Since the visa-free policy between China and Malaysia took full effect, a wave of Chinese business groups has poured into the country, from photography and beauty services to e-commerce, using low prices and quick profit tactics to disrupt the previously stable local market. Some of these unlicensed Chinese beauty teams boasted about their skills, but in reality shifted all potential risks onto their Malaysian partners. Once something went wrong, these temporary Chinese teams simply packed up and left. They operated without proper sterilization equipment, without legal certification, without after-sales service, and without long-term visas. What they left behind for local businesses was a total mess, and in many cases, the forced closure of their salons. Even more alarming, some high-risk cosmetic surgery procedures, such as minimally invasive facial operations, were being carried out the same way, quickly taking orders, making money, and then disappearing overnight, leaving local partners to bear all the consequences. At the same time, some young Chinese vloggers on social media began to mock Malaysia, claiming that the country's biggest problem is that it has no sidewalks. In one video, a blogger complained, "In their country, there are simply no sidewalks. Every other country has them, but not here, and the locals are actually proud of that." He continued, "When you walk along the roadside, there's either a green belt or just a narrow strip of space. One road connects to another, cars keep rushing by, but there are no pedestrian crossings, no safe spots to cross. Sometimes you're walking and suddenly the road ends, it turns into an overpass, and you have to find your way back. It's ridiculous." The blogger said he had asked local residents about it, and they told him that whenever they needed to go a bit farther, they would either drive or take the subway, never considering walking. What puzzled him even more was that locals felt no dissatisfaction at all. Instead, they seemed used to it, even proud of it. He mocked them in a sarcastic tone, imitating their voice. "We Malaysians drive everywhere who needs sidewalks?" Then he added critically, "The fact that you don't have sidewalks shows your urban planning is flawed. How can you be proud of that?" Malaysia is just a small Southeast Asian country. Its military power isn't even in the world's top 30. The only reason you live peacefully is because you're geographically close to China, so no one bothers you. If you were in the Middle East, you'd be crushed in minutes. He even compared Malaysia with Vietnam, Thailand, and Singapore, saying, "They all have sidewalks, only you don't. What's there to be proud of?" Totally pathetic. This video immediately sparked heated debate online. Many Malaysian netizens flooded the comments, saying, Please, Chinese people, complain more like this, maybe then all the rude tourists will stop coming and our country can finally be peaceful. However, some Chinese bloggers offered a more rational analysis. They explained that Malaysia's lack of sidewalks is largely due to its extremely high car ownership rate with over 900 cars per 1,000 people, meaning almost every adult owns a car, and some families even have 4 or 5 vehicles. Since fuel prices are low and maintenance costs are cheap, locals are accustomed to driving everywhere and rarely consider walking. As a result, urban design naturally focuses more on cars than pedestrians, leading to the current structure of Malaysian streets. In recent years, following the implementation of the visa exemption agreements between China and Malaysia, a large influx of Chinese tourists has entered Malaysia. However, the frequent disputes and conflicts that have occurred have raised serious concerns about the behavioral standards of Chinese tourists abroad. Not long ago, a video circulated widely online showing an incident at Penang Hill, one of the most famous tourist attractions in Malaysia. In the video, a group of Chinese tourists were seen arguing fiercely with their compatriots over the best front row position in a sightseeing cable car to take videos and photos. The confrontation quickly escalated, with passengers shouting angrily and losing control of their emotions. As soon as the video was uploaded, it spread rapidly online and trended on Weibo. In the footage, a woman repeatedly shouted, "I'm counting now. You already started, didn't you? I'm counting now. My mom, I didn't touch you. I didn't touch you. I fell and had to see a doctor because you touched me earlier. I think you harassed me, okay?" Another voice retorted, "Who touched you?" 2 Mandarin-speaking women had taken over the front row seats of the cable car, each holding a phone high to record the entire ride. According to the person who filmed the video, their behavior seriously affected other tourists' viewing experience, and they kept arguing loudly with other Chinese passengers, appearing extremely agitated. Most people in the carriage were visibly annoyed, but the 2 women refused to move. Even after the cable car reached the top, they continued to make exaggerated faces and mocking gestures toward other passengers. Some bystanders even reminded them, "There are children here, please set an example." Online comments about the video were harsh. Many criticized the women for being selfish, rude, and shameless, saying, "You embarrassed all of us abroad. All this drama just to post on your social media traveling with people like that is pure torture." In fact, this was not the first time such incidents had occurred at Penang Hill. Back on May 29th, another blogger shared a similar video, saying they had encountered 3 domineering sisters who occupied the entire front window section of the cable car, the only panoramic viewing spot on the whole ride. These 3 stood in front of the window for the entire trip, blocking everyone's view, forcing other passengers to stretch their hands through the gaps just to take photos. When some kindly asked them to sit down and not block others, they completely ignored the requests. Beyond poor tourist behavior, many Malaysians are growing more worried about the social and security issues that have come with the visa-free policy. As early as 2023, Malaysia announced that Chinese citizens could enter the country visa-free for stays of up to 30 days. However, since the policy came into effect, local media have reported a surge in crimes involving Chinese nationals, raising questions about whether the policy has opened the door for criminal activities. According to data released by the Malaysian Statistics Department at the end of last year, the number of cybercrime cases in 2023 soared by 35.5%, reaching a total of 34,532 cases. Among them, e-commerce scams accounted for 33.2%, followed by telecommunication fraud at 30%, fake investment schemes at 15.6%, fraudulent loans at 12.3%, financial cybercrimes at 6.1%, and romance scams at 2.7%. Public opinion in Malaysia is increasingly concerned that while the influx of Chinese tourists brings spending and investment, it also carries hidden risks, including criminal networks and gang-related activities. Malaysia is already facing a wave of cyber scams dominated by Chinese syndicates, and many social media posts have bluntly stated that as more Chinese investments and business projects enter the country, gang-related problems will inevitably worsen. From arguments in cable cars, to conflicts at public attractions, and now to fears about national security, these incidents are shaping negative public perceptions of Chinese tourists in Malaysia. Tourism is supposed to be a bridge for cultural exchange and mutual understanding, but without basic manners and respect for rules, such behavior only deepens misunderstanding and resentment. No matter where one travels, respecting others and following order are the true signs of civilized behavior. And to be honest, what's happening now truly makes people shake their heads in disbelief. Lately, Malaysia and Singapore have practically become battlegrounds for unruly Chinese tourists, particularly middle-aged women known as aunties. The situation is so out of control that locals are calling it a disaster. When these two countries opened visa-free entry, they likely never imagined that it would become a Pandora's box. The visa exemption was originally intended to promote tourism and cultural exchange, boosting the local economy. For Malaysia and Singapore, tourism accounts for a significant portion of GDP, so attracting more Chinese tourists should have been a good thing: more visitors, more spending, more growth. But reality proved otherwise. When Pandora's box was opened, what came out wasn't opportunity or hope, but a wave of Chinese tourists bringing their bad habits abroad. Let's start with queue jumping. In China, cutting in line has become almost a normalized habit. Whether at train stations, scenic spots, or hospitals, there's always someone trying to squeeze ahead. What's worse, some even argue self-righteously, scolding others with, "Do you even know the rules?" Back home, most people just swallow their anger to avoid confrontation. But abroad, that kind of behavior directly challenges societies built on strict public order. When you cut in line overseas, you're not just being rude, you're openly trampling on another country's social norms. Not long ago, at a tourist attraction in Malaysia, a Chinese couple and their child tried to cut in line right in front of other visitors. One might think bringing a child could be a reasonable excuse, but they apparently believed that having a child entitled them to special privileges, that they should be given priority over others. What's even more absurd is that after cutting in line, they were politely reminded by others, yet instead of apologizing, they started shouting insults. The Malaysian tourists nearby were completely stunned, unable to believe what they were witnessing. Even more shocking, the Chinese woman had a smug expression on her face, as if cutting in line was her right. Perhaps in her mind she thought, "I do this all the time back home, and no one dares say anything." That kind of mindset, taking bad habits from home and exporting them abroad, naturally turned into an international embarrassment. And unfortunately, this is not an isolated case. Scrolling through social media, one can easily find many videos uploaded by Malaysian netizens showing similar incidents. The comments were almost unanimously negative. They said, "So this is what Chinese people are like, always trying to take advantage, always acting like they're above everyone else." What was supposed to be a trip to promote cultural exchange ended up damaging China's image abroad, leaving locals not only disappointed but increasingly resentful toward Chinese tourists. But if cutting in line is just a matter of poor manners, what came next was far more serious. Some time ago, during entry procedures at a Malaysian airport, a Chinese woman shockingly attacked an immigration officer, even tearing off the officer's headscarf. Just imagine this wasn't a minor quarrel, it was physical assault, and even worse, it involved a matter of religious sensitivity. Malaysia is a Muslim-majority country, and the headscarf, hijab, holds deep sacred meaning. To publicly pull it off is not just disrespectful, it is a blatant act of humiliation. When the incident was reported, it instantly made national headlines in Malaysia. Such behavior, in the eyes of locals, is a grave insult and potentially a criminal offense. What made it worse was that when immigration officers questioned her about entry records, the woman refused to cooperate. Instead, she threw a tantrum, and when words failed, she physically attacked the officers. On August 13th, at Kuala Lumpur International Airport, a Chinese female tourist was being questioned in the departure hall when she became extremely aggressive. She argued heatedly with an immigration officer, and the situation escalated into a violent confrontation. According to the report by the Border Control and Protection Bureau, the incident occurred in the departure hall of the first terminal, where two Chinese women accompanied by two children were preparing to leave the country. During the routine inspection, immigration officers discovered that none of the four had any record of entry, prompting them to refer the case to a supervisor for further verification. At that point, one of the women lost control, shouting obscenities and physically attacking the officer. She yanked off the female officer's headscarf, then slammed her head against the counter pillar, causing swelling around the officer's left eye, pain on the right side of her head, and muscle soreness throughout her body. The scene descended into chaos. Fortunately, airport security personnel arrived quickly, restraining the aggressor and taking the injured officer to the hospital for treatment. The Chinese woman was immediately arrested and detained by Malaysian police. At this point, the nature of the incident completely changed. Cutting in line or arguing can be dismissed as a matter of individual manners, but assaulting officials, especially in a foreign country, crosses a serious line. Local people now no longer see Chinese tourists as merely impolite. They see them as aggressive and dangerous. Over time, such behavior could completely destroy China's tourism image and even affect future visa policies, possibly leading to stricter entry rules and more restrictions. The news caused an uproar across Malaysian social media. Many users expressed outrage, saying, "This isn't just an assault, it's also an immigration violation and a religious insult." In a Muslim-majority country, publicly tearing off a woman's hijab is viewed as an extreme act of offense. Ultimately, the woman was sentenced to 1 month in jail and fined, paying the price for her reckless behavior. And if you think this was already shocking enough, the truth is, what happened next was even more unbelievable. A shocking incident recently took place in Malaysia. A Chinese woman attacked people on the street with a knife, injuring 6 individuals. She has been charged with 8 criminal offenses and faces a maximum sentence of 30 years in prison. Witnesses say that while being restrained, she repeatedly screamed, "I hate Malaysia!" At this point, the situation has gone far beyond any discussion of cultural manners. It has escalated into a serious public safety concern. On August 13th, outside a major shopping mall in Kajang, a rare act of violence erupted. A young foreign woman collided with several motorcycles while driving, then got out of her car wielding a knife and began stabbing random passers-by. She even rushed into the mall, continuing her violent rampage. In total, 6 people were injured to varying degrees. Several videos circulating on social media show the chaos. A sedan crashed into several motorcycles, knocking them to the ground. The female driver then stabbed one of the riders, leaving him bleeding on the spot, before running into the shopping mall and slashing at anyone nearby, causing panic among shoppers. In the footage, she could also be seen attacking another motorcyclist, while the crowd screamed and scattered in fear. The scene quickly spiraled out of control until police arrived after receiving emergency calls. They subdued and arrested the suspect. At the scene, she appeared disheveled, her hands tied behind her back, shouting repeatedly, "I hate Malaysia." The onlookers were stunned and horrified. Kajang District's Assistant Director, Nazril Nizam, later confirmed in an official statement that the suspect was a 24-year-old foreign woman. During the incident, she not only collided with 3 motorcycles, but also used 2 knives to stab 6 local citizens. The victims ranged in age from 21 to 60 years old. 2 of them required hospitalization, while the other 4 were treated as outpatients. Police recovered the 2 knives used in the attack and confirmed that the woman would be investigated for reckless or dangerous driving causing bodily harm and attempted murder. Further investigation revealed that the woman's name is Lu Ting, a 24-year-old from Hunan, China. During police questioning, she refused to cooperate, denied all charges, and kept talking to herself incoherently. She even banged her head against the wall, showing signs of mental instability. Due to her abnormal psychological state, the local court has ordered that she be sent to a psychiatric hospital for 1 month of observation and treatment before continuing with the legal process. Singapore has also witnessed a series of similar incidents involving Chinese tourists. One particularly viral case, dubbed the Universal Studios Brawl, featured a Chinese mother who got into a heated fight with local visitors after allegedly cutting in line, even shouting, "Without Chinese people, you're nothing." The video spread rapidly across the internet, sparking massive debate. The clip shows a Chinese woman holding a small child, accompanied by a teenage boy and a young girl, arguing with another angry ethnic Chinese man standing behind her. The man captioned his video, "Line cutting at Universal Studios," directly calling out the woman's behavior. Both sides recorded each other with their phones, and the argument quickly escalated. The woman snapped back, "You think only you can record me?" The man replied sarcastically, "Sure, a mother with kids who cuts in line." Enraged, she shouted, "Idiot! You're the one embarrassing Chinese people. Aren't you Chinese too? I'm here with 3 kids and you still want to fight with me? Don't you have kids yourself?" As tempers flared, she grew more aggressive, denying she had cut in line and unleashing a barrage of insults. "If you're so capable, then buy an express ticket. You can't even afford it, can you? No house, no car, what kind of Chinese are you? I'll drown you in money." At that point, her husband stepped in, pulling out his phone to film as well. The situation turned into a shouting match between both families. Despite the line slowly moving forward, neither side calmed down. The woman continued yelling, calling the man a disgrace to Chinese people, and finally shouted her most arrogant line. "Are Chinese people making you lose face? We eat your food and drink your drinks. Without us, you're nothing." That final statement infuriated netizens across Asia. The video, first uploaded by TikTok user LunaCroy0573 and later shared by @ATSG What's Up, reached over 560,000 views and 12,000 likes within days. Viewers flooded the comments section with criticism, saying the woman not only cut in line but also made insulting remarks, disrupting public order and shaming Chinese tourists worldwide. Some angry users wrote, "Enough is enough, stop embarrassing Chinese people everywhere you go." A few others tried to defend her, suggesting that she might have been rejoining her family who were already in line and that the conflict arose from a misunderstanding. Others pointed out that both sides could have handled the situation calmly instead of turning it into an online spectacle. Amid the public backlash, Resorts World Sentosa, which operates Universal Studios Singapore, released an official statement on August 20th. The statement confirmed that the incident had been resolved and reiterated that the park upholds the values of courtesy, respect, and queuing etiquette, urging all visitors to be understanding toward one another so that everyone can enjoy a pleasant experience. We hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please remember to like and subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any future updates. If you'd like to support us further, feel free to share this video with your friends. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more shocking stories and insights in our upcoming videos. Looking back at this entire chain of events, it's clear that the impulsive and uncivilized behavior of some individuals is only the tip of a much larger iceberg, a deep social crisis in China. According to data from the National Bureau of Statistics of China, in 2024, the youth unemployment rate for those aged 16 to 24 surpassed 21.3%, the highest in recorded history. Meanwhile, household debt has exceeded 80 trillion yuan, equivalent to nearly 10 trillion US dollars. Major global brands such as Apple, Adidas, and Starbucks have all reported declining sales in the Chinese market, reflecting the shrinking purchasing power of ordinary citizens. At the same time, migration, unemployment, and growing inequality are pushing many Chinese citizens into emotional and psychological breakdowns, fueling more erratic, extreme behavior. All of this has become a China social trends drawing worldwide attention and exposing the deep fractures within Chinese society. From public fights on airplanes and chaos at Malaysian airports to violent attacks in the streets, we're witnessing a China social trends struggling under social pressure and moral decay. This isn't just about a few individuals, it's a mirror reflecting the widespread anxiety now gripping the world's most populous nation. Question for you. Do you think these incidents are isolated acts of personal misconduct, or do they reveal a deeper moral and psychological decline spreading across Chinese society? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming reports. Thank you for watching this video. See you again in the next episode.